Good morning. So, you've probably been doing something for a while, right? The faithful thing, the morning prayer before the house wakes up. You study and you come back even when you're tired. And you're showing up to the work before anything else is confirmed. Like you don't even know if it's working or not. And you've been consistent in ways that they probably don't always get seen, but you've been doing it because you love God and you mean it. Like on an ordinary Tuesday morning when nothing chaotic or dramatic is happening, you're just doing the thing again and again and again. And I feel like when that happens, a question kind of surfaces for us. Is any of this actually reaching him? Okay, good morning as you guys are coming in. Veronica, Kat, Carol, Anita, Aunt Joyce, Jessica, Cindy, good morning. Create, inspire, dream. Good morning, each and every one of you. So, we're going to start off with our question as you guys come in. I want you to think about the faithful thing that you've been doing consistently. Whether that's practicing something, you've been doing work, you've been showing up, the thing that you're bringing to God that you sometimes wonder if he actually sees. Maybe it's the morning prayer that nobody knows about. Maybe it's a business that you've been building in secret. Maybe you serve and it doesn't get mentioned. I want you to put that in the chat today. I want to see you for the things that you're doing that maybe nobody else recognizes. Okay? And if there's things that you're doing and you're like, I know I have it, I just can't think of it, you can just put a yes. Like if you know exactly what I'm talking about, there's things that you're doing that nobody else recognizes. And if you're like, well, I don't know, maybe not yet, if you're still trying to figure out what your thing is. Whatever it is, you could say yes or not yet, or you could actually put the thing. I'm going to be coming back to this at the very end like we always do. It's going to mean something completely different by the time we get through Exodus 27 and 28. That's where we're going to be today. So good morning. I have a lot of little photos to share with you guys today. We have in Exodus 27 and 28, we've been going through this, and Letty actually sent me a photo yesterday of the tabernacle, and I realized I have so many photos of the things that we're discussing. So I want to share those with you guys today. I'm going to be uploading them here because I wasn't quite finished. But as I do that, you guys can kind of see a sneak peek into some of them. But one more thing before we get into the text as I'm doing that, okay? I'm going to invite you guys to finish this sentence. The faithful thing that I keep bringing to God, that I sometimes wonder if he sees, is what? Is it your morning prayers? Is it your business, your marriage, your raising your kids, your ministry? Is it something else entirely specific to you? What does that look like for you? The faithful thing that you keep bringing to God, that sometimes you wonder if he sees, is what? What is that for you guys? And good morning as you're coming in. You're going to see me uploading a few things. I didn't want to keep you waiting, so I'm going to just do it here on the live. So sometimes you'll see me. Sometimes you'll see the things that I'm uploading. These are all part of today's study, and I'm excited to share them with you guys. Okay, so I want to know as I'm doing that, what is the faithful thing that you keep bringing to God? You can stay. And if you are new here, this is your first time being here on this live, I welcome you. Good morning. This is some of the stuff that you'll see this on my screen. We're going to be covering this today. The tabernacle. If this is, we've been in the story of the tabernacle. So I want to know, what is the thing that you guys are bringing to God that you've been doing it faithfully and you wonder sometimes if he sees you? Your business, your marriage, your kids. What is that? Okay? There's something that happens when you've been faithful for a really long time. The thing that you stop doing, right? The doing, it just becomes so normal in your day-to-day that you stop expecting it to produce like this dramatic confirmation every single time, right? Like you're just so used to it. You don't even necessarily think that God is going to show up in a crazy way, and you don't need that. You pray and you show up and you give and you serve. Most days, nothing dramatic happens, right? The bills still need to get paid. Your kids still need lunch. The inbox still fills up. You do the faithful thing anyway because you're not doing it for the confirmation. You're doing it because that's who you are, right? How many of you feel that way? You just show up and you do the things. That's just become a piece of your normal day to day, right? That's me. It kind of just becomes normal. Okay, I'm adding one more and then I'll get back to it. I think what ends up happening is there's like a version of that faithfulness where like sometimes like something subtle starts to happen over time. Okay, this piece we're gonna add in there. Okay, it's hard to talk and to do this at the same time. Okay, as you guys are coming in, I invite you guys to say good morning. Okay. Oops, there we go. Good morning. If this is your first time here, I welcome you in. Okay. So, I think there's this level of faithfulness where something subtle starts to happen over time, and the gap between like where you are, like where you're standing, and where God starts to feel like something that you have to manage. Like the access to him, it's very real, but you have to have that right kind of person to use it, right? Like the prayers that you used to pray on the easy days, you now pray when you're exhausted and distracted and you're just getting through it. Exodus 27 and 28, they're going to show you this morning that God actually designed the entire access system before you showed up to use it. Okay? He built the space and he dressed the priest. He said, put your name on the garment. You didn't earn your way to the access. The access was already there. So stay with me as we come in today. I have a lot of fun things for us today. I have pictures to show you of all the stuff that we've been discussing. I have our Hearing God Through the Noise challenge. That one, if you guys, I have to say this again. So if you have not done this, or if you've done this Hearing God Through the Noise challenge before, we're going to do it again. Okay? I have dived deeper into this challenge and I have done a lot of work regarding it. And I pray that you guys see it in a different way. Okay? So, as you guys are coming in, we are going to be in 2 chapters this morning. They belong together. So Exodus 27 is the courtyard and the altar and the outer spaces that God built for the people to come to. Exodus 28 is the priestly garments. These are specifically the clothes that Aaron wore each time he went before God on behalf of the people. So you need chapter 27 and 28. Well, you need chapter 27 to understand what chapter 28 is doing, okay? It's the structure and the priest, and they are all one arc. So most people skip these chapters on their way to the golden calf in chapter 32. But what these 2 chapters, like what's in these 2 chapters, is actually some of the most specific and tender material in the entire book about how God thinks about access and about the people that he built the access for. So we're going to be here studying that in depth today. What are you guys drinking? What are you doing? That's my question to you as we get started. And if this is your first time being in here, first of all, you're going to see me uploading more images here in just a second. Actually, let's see if this one will go. Yes, I don't think I did that one. Did I? Maybe. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. I have a gift for you on the bottom left of your screen. There was one. Okay, there it is. I found it. The bottom left of your screen, I have a gift for you. Can you let us know who you are? Like if you're new, you can do your name. You can do, this is the one that Letty sent me. I didn't see you on here, Letty. If you're on here and if I didn't say your name, or see your name, or tell you good morning, let me know. Maybe you're not on yet. Okay, so I'm going to show these to you guys later. That's why I'm going through them so quickly. But we're going to be here in scripture today covering the tabernacle. We're going to be in Exodus 27 and 28. Raina, good morning. I pray that you stay. I did want to show you guys this one. Oops. Give me just a second. This one I'm going to show you just to show you because I told Erica, I don't think she's on yet. Maybe she is. I don't know. I haven't seen her. I actually haven't been paying attention. I want to show you this amazing double rainbow that she sent to me the other day. Like, I have never, can you guys see this rainbow? I have literally never seen one like this before ever in my life. And I was like, how incredible is this? So Erica, if you watch the replays or you're on here, thank you for sending me this. Like, have you guys ever seen that before? I was like, that is incredible. If you guys aren't familiar with what the rainbow and the symbolism is, it's so incredible. That's God's covenant. She's in New Mexico. I have never seen one like that. Oh, you saw one in Hawaii, Aunt Tina? Yes. Yep, that is in New Mexico, Paul. You guys are smart. You guys know your area. You get those a lot? That's crazy. Okay, I'll put that away. I could leave that up all day. I'd rather look at that than me. So I have a lot to share with you guys today. I'm excited for it. So if this is your first time, you're in for a treat because I don't normally share photos, but since we have stuff, it's amazing to be able to show you some of these things that we've been talking about. I won't leave it up. That'll get like old, especially for the new people coming in. But yeah, we'll get started today, okay? So if this is your first time here, I have a gift for you. The bottom left of your screen, yes, men are allowed. We just ask that you guys behave, okay? So the bottom left of your screen, there's a gold icon. I have a gift for you. It's 40 questions. I think it's 44 questions as you're navigating new things. Go ahead and get that. I have the replays in there. I usually go live right around 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Central. Every day we come here and we go verse by verse. We go through scripture very slowly. I go deep into scripture and I don't move past until it hits here. I want to know the character of God as much as I can in these full 2 hours. So if you have your Bible, you are more than welcome to follow along in that, but you don't need to have one. You can drop your name, where you're from. We want to get to know you. I love knowing who's in the room with us. Today we have our day 1 of Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge. This, if you have done it before, I encourage you to do it again because I went deep into this one. I redid certain areas of it to allow more depth. I pray that you walk out of it seeing something different. Okay, so this is for everybody today. So I asked you guys a question before we got started. Is there something that maybe you have been showing up and doing the work, you've been faithful to something and you've been consistent with it? Something that you've been bringing to God and sometimes you wonder if He actually sees it. You can drop a yes if you know exactly what I'm talking about, or you can say not yet if you don't know. We're going to come back to that. So we're also going to go into our prayer and invite Holy Spirit in before we get started. So I invite you guys to put your prayers in there. We're going to pray as a body. I know that as they come through, we pray for one another. I know it's not just me. Okay, and then we'll get into our recap and get started. Okay, so Heavenly Father, thank you for such a beautiful Wednesday. Thank you for allowing us to gather together. The gift of your word is something that I don't want to take for granted. I pray that you give me the wisdom and the knowledge to represent it accurately, that my study allows us to see more of you, that this glorifies you, Father. Please allow them to see only you, none of me. I pray that this study is one that brings a comfort to those that are on here or watching the replay. And if this is their first time, Father, I pray that they learn something about you that makes them want to stay. Father, if they are questioning your character, I pray that you reveal more of yourself to them, especially today. I pray that it is something that they're able to hold on to in these times of struggle. The things that they put in the comments, Father, we know that you see every single one. I pray that you are with them extra. We know that you go before us, that you are our provider, you are our healer, you are our banner. We thank you for being such an incredible God. Thank you for the gift of Jesus Christ. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. All right. So we are going to get started. We have been in Exodus for a few weeks. And at this point in time, today we are in Exodus 27 and 28. They are meant to be read together. You need to have 27 to understand 28, just as all scripture really is. But I'm going to give you a recap of Exodus 26. Okay, so last time, yesterday, we were in Exodus 26, and that chapter was about the structure of the tabernacle itself. We spoke about the curtains, the coverings, the frames, the veil. I'm going to show you pictures of those things as I have this amazing book that shows me that, and I was reminded that I have those things, and I wanted to share that with you. You'll get to see some of the things that we've talked about in Scripture. The thing that I feel like stood out to me most about this chapter is that God built the tabernacle from the inside out. It was the most expensive, most carefully crafted material. There was royal blue, there was purple, there was fine linens, and they were embroidered with cherubim. This was in the room where nobody saw it first, and the exterior was a dark animal hide, and it was plain and functional. So if you were walking past it in the wilderness, you wouldn't stop to look at it. From the outside, it was nothing extraordinary, but in the inside, it was. So that veil, there was a veil that it was a dividing curtain between the holy place and the most holy place. It was made of that same royal material as the interior, and it divided the room where the priest actually worked daily from the room where God's presence specifically dwelt. So the whole design essentially said that there's something more on the other side of this. Then, when we looked into Matthew chapter 27, verse 51, at the top of the crucifixion, that veil, it tore from the top to the bottom. So that something on the outside, or like it was something outside of human reach that started this tear, right? The access that the entire structure said was restricted was now open, which we know that means we're able to come to God. We don't need an intermediary. Jesus is that for us, right? He did that for us by his work on the cross. So Exodus 27, it actually picks up where chapter 26 ended. So the interior of the tabernacle was designed, okay? It is designed. And now God moves to the outer spaces. And the first thing that he builds out there in that place for people is for them to come. So I want to know, before we dive deep into this, okay, has God ever surprised you by making something accessible that you expected to be off limits? Like you were like, I shouldn't even have access to this. This is incredible, God. I mean, Jesus and the work on the cross, yes, we should not even have access to him. But is there something else that you feel in your life that you feel like, God, thank you for allowing me the ability to do that. I shouldn't even be able to. You could put a yes or a no. So we study scripture, and I relate it back to our lives as women and wives and mothers, business owners, caregivers, all those things. But I dive deep into scripture to relate it regardless of where you're at, okay? So if you are just coming in and just joining, that's what this study is. We go deep into it. I want to make sure that we understand the heart of God, what he is doing in our lives and how to apply it, not just to business, but to our every aspect, okay? So we are in Exodus 27. As you guys continue to come in, I want to see your names. I want to welcome you. Good morning, okay? So Exodus 27, I'm going to read verses 1 through 2, okay? Twins, I invite you to stay on. I will say this. I won't always get to your guys' questions as they come in because I love to stay focused on scripture, but you'll see what that means, okay? And I promise, as I have little breaks, where I kind of welcome people back in, I will explain it more. So please keep your guys' questions coming. Okay? Please keep them coming. And if I forget for some reason, let me know. There are times too when I forget certain questions that you guys have and I DM you personally. So we are in Exodus 27 verses 1 through 2, and it says, "You shall make an altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make its horns on the 4 corners, and its horns shall be one piece with it. And you shall overlay it with bronze." Okay, so this is the altar. This is the burnt offering. Let me see. My screen, you guys, is literally so far away, and the words look like this big. So I labeled them, and this one is the altar of incense. Okay, this is what it looks like, right? Sorry, I'm reading from my text. I want to make sure that this is the one. Okay, the altar of incense that I'm talking about. So you're going to make an altar of acacia wood. It's 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, and the altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make horns on the 4 corners. Okay? And then you shall overlay it in bronze. Pretty sure that's this one. Unless it's, I don't think it's this one. That's different. That's the Ark of the Covenant. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm pretty sure it's this one. All right. I should just open up my book to double check since I'm so far away. I want to describe what this looks like or not describe what it looks like. Describe more in depth what this is. No, that one's a different one. These are the wrong ones. Give me just a second. This is I needed to just scroll down more. This would help if it would help if I was so much closer, you guys. We're going to get through it today, though. It's this one. Okay. This is the one that it is. I was like, these don't seem right. Okay. So this one, do you see how there's little horns right here? If you guys need me to make it bigger, I can. Or I'll try. It's kind of hard to do. Give me just a sec. All right. It looks like this. So I'll leave this up for a little bit. This is the altar of burnt offerings. It's not the small incense altar that we're going to get to later in chapter 30. This one is gold and it goes inside the holy place. This one is very large. It's 5 cubits by 5 cubits. So it's roughly 7.5 feet square. So it's made of acacia wood and it's overlaid with bronze. And this sits in the courtyard outside the tabernacle structure. This is where the people could see it and come to it. Okay, so people saw this and they came to this altar. And so we have been talking about the acacia wood. It shows up here again. So we saw it in flames, like in the flames of the tabernacle in chapter 26 and in the ark and the furniture in chapter 25. God keeps coming back to this. This is a very specific wood. So acacia is a desert hardwood. It's dense. It's resistant to rot. It's one of the few trees that actually grows in these conditions. And Israel was moving through this. Okay, so God in this moment, he is not asking for an exotic, imported type of material. He's building the altar out of what the wilderness already provided. Okay, good morning as you guys are coming in. So I'm going to put this one back up. This one here, when you see it, it has horns on the side. You see how on each corner there are horns. There's 4 corners and each was made with a horn that was made from a piece. It was made, sorry, let me say that again. 4 corners, each with a horn made of one piece with the altar. They weren't attached separately. They're carved into the material. Okay, so in that world, the horns had very specific meaning. Okay, they were a very specific thing. So in the Old Testament, what ended up happening is that in Leviticus, in 1 Kings, Psalm, it was in various places of scripture, okay? A person in danger could run to the altar and they could grab the horns and find protection there. So in 1 Kings chapter 1 verse 50, it describes a man who feared for his life and he ran straight to the altar and he grabbed the horns. So the altar was a place of refuge. It was designed to mean, well, whoever comes here or whatever you're carrying, this is where you're safe. Have you guys ever heard in church when they say come to the altar? How many of you are familiar with that? Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. That's a song. But like, have you ever heard people say that at church? Like an altar call? Okay. This is the altar. I know that at church there's an altar, like some of them have stuff like that, but that's what this means. So God actually builds the place of offering. So the altar is where you bring what you have to God. And he builds the four corners of refuge into it. So this is the place that you give, like the place that you come to give. It's the same place where you're going to be held. Okay, so I want you to think about that as a design decision. Okay, he didn't separate the offering from the refuge. He actually built them into the same object. So in Psalm 118, verse 27, it says, bind the sacrifice with the cords of the horn to the altar. The bringing and the holding, they're in the same place. So what you're carrying to the altar, it stays with you. Like it stays with you at the altar. You bring it and you're going to be held there. So I have a question for you guys. When you bring something to God, whether it's a prayer or a burden or something that you've been holding on to, does it feel more like a transaction where you hand it off and you leave? Or is it more of a conversation where you stay? Like you hand it off and you leave, or do you stay? Is it a transaction or a conversation? There's no wrong answer. I just want to know where you're at. Okay? And good morning as you guys are coming in. I know there's some of you came in today. I didn't get a chance to say good morning to you, but good morning. Right? This altar is telling us so much. So how many of you bring something to God? Your prayers, your burdens, something that you've been holding on to, you've been carrying it. Is it more like a transaction where you hand it off or a conversation where you stay? Okay. So we are in Exodus 27 verses 3 through 8. So it says, also you shall make its pans to receive its ashes and its shovels and its basins and its forks and its fire pans. You shall make all its utensils of bronze. You shall make a grate for it, a network of bronze, and on the network you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. You shall put it under the rim of the altar beneath, that the network may be halfway up the altar. Okay? Let's see this again as I read this, okay? Maybe this will help us to kind of visualize what Scripture is saying. So, I'm going to read that again, right? You shall make its pots to receive its ashes, and its shovels and its basins. This is Exodus 27, verse 3. Okay. And its shovels and its basins and its forks and its fire pans, and you shall make its utensils of bronze. And then in verse 4 it says, you shall make a grate for it, a network of bronze, and on the network you shall make 4 bronze rings at its corners. Okay. And then it says, you shall put under it the rim of the altar. Beneath that, a network may be midway up the altar, and you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. The poles shall be put in the rings, and the poles shall be on the 2 sides of the altar to bear it. You shall make it hollow with boards, as shown to you on the mountain, so that they may make it. All right, so that's I want you guys to see it as we were reading it. I want you to also remember, this is God talking to Moses. He's giving him very detailed instructions of how to build this. So God specifies even the utensils. He says the ash pots, the shovels, the basins, the forks, the fire pans, every single tool that's needed to maintain the altar, all of it is made of bronze. This is the part that I think gets skipped over a lot because it sounds like just a supply list. Like God is saying, take this, 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 and this. It's almost like he's reading from a checklist. It's kind of how I would view God. Like, obviously he doesn't do that. but I think people just kind of skim through it. Here's what it's actually saying, okay? God included the maintenance equipment in the original design. He specified the tools for the unglamorous daily work alongside the altar itself. Think about what this means practically, okay? So every single morning, that fire had to be tended to. The ashes had to be cleaned. The tools for that work were not an afterthought. They were actually built into the blueprint from the beginning. I think it's really easy to think that the meaningful work is the visible moments, right? The big offering, sometimes these prayers where we're just like, it's so dramatic. And sometimes we get the visible results. And then there's the maintenance work, right? The daily tending, the clearing of what needs cleared so that the next thing can happen. God put the tools for that work in the same design document as the altar. There was the shovel for the ashes, like that shovel for the ashes was as much a part of the plan as the altar itself. So the altar, it also sat on bronze. It sat on a bronze crate, and it was hollow inside, and it had rings and poles. It could actually be completely disassembled and carried. Remember, the Israelites, they were on a journey. They're on a journey through the Exodus is a journey, and they're in the wilderness. So there's about 2 million of them. Remember how I told you that they have to assemble and disassemble the tabernacle every time they move. Okay, so God, like this, a lot of people just read it as a supply list. This is God's intentionality. This is Him showing us He knows the beginning from the end. He knows everything you're gonna need. And He knows the importance of it, and He prepares them. So where the people went, the place of offering went with them. So they didn't leave the altar behind when the cloud moved. They packed it up and they took it with them. This is what this means for you, though. The place where you come to God, right? The practice, the daily returning, the bringing of what you have, it was designed to go with you. It's designed to travel with you, right? Through the wilderness seasons, through the moving, the places where you're not settled in. Okay? The place where the offering is not just waiting. It's not waiting for you to arrive somewhere permanent. It actually goes where you go. I want to know, what's one practice of daily, like a daily thing that you do that's traveled with you throughout different seasons? Is it prayer? Is it worship? Is it the word? Is it studying? Is it this community? Is it church? Is it your journal? A YouTube channel that brings you comfort? Like, what is it? What gets you through those seasons that you are like, it's the thing that I go back to daily, and it's been that thing that I hold on to day in and day out? Mine for me is the word. I pray, of course I pray, but like the word, that's where I'm like, because sometimes when you pray, it doesn't always feel like I hear Him, but this to me is like, this is you speaking directly to me, because I can open up scripture and it's like, that's exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. So we are in Exodus chapter 27. We're going to read verse 9 through 19. So I'm going to be in this one for a little bit. Okay. I'm going to also show you the court of the tabernacle. So if you guys are like, what does that look like? I'm going to show you. Today is a very visual day. I know a lot of you guys watch as you are, driving to work, or you're listening. You're probably not watching. You're at work and you're listening. You're doing dishes. What are you guys doing, right? You guys are probably doing a lot of things. I want to know what you're doing. Just so we can visualize it. But today I'm going to show you the visuals of some of these things. My hair is driving me nuts today. I curled it too close to my eye, so I'm going to be moving it 5 million times today. Today is very visual. I brought photos because a lot of this stuff, if I'm being honest, it's really hard for us to visualize this, like what this actually looks like. Because I could tell you, like I just describe it to you, but until you actually see it, it's something different. So I wanted to tell you, thank you, Carolyn, for reminding me. Do you go by, like, Carolyn, do you prefer Carolyn or Carol? I want to know what you guys prefer to be called too, because I like calling you by your names. So it's this one. I'm trying to be an affiliate with them because I always promote this one. I'm just kidding. It's this. It's called Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. It's by Rose Book. So let's see. So I'm going to be reading from some of these. I have it. Do any of you guys have this book? If you guys were my OG ones, you were here with me from the beginning, I would read a lot from this book. Or I would show you a lot from this book. And then I kind of stopped for a little bit. And I was like, oh yeah, there's so much in here that I forget to show you guys. So if you don't have it, that's totally fine. But that's where these photos are coming from today. So in Exodus chapter 27, you got it because of me. I love that, Sandra. It is called Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. Love it. If you guys have it, you guys can follow along with these photos, but I like recommend it. I'm not sponsored, or anything like that, but I just love it. So Hobby Lobby has it. I did not know that. That's awesome. I'll have to look. So I should put it in the comments. It is, it's the Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. So, oh, please show the book again. Yeah, I got it on TikTok Shop. It's this one. I don't know. Literally, my camera is like all the way back there. So that's about as close as I can get for you guys. Okay, so that's where we're going to be showing some of the pictures today. So if you guys are coming in, good morning. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sarah. All right. So I have a favor to ask from my moderators. You guys are amazing at doing this, so I don't even need to ask really, but I just wanted to ask a favor of you. I have so on my TikTok, I have to like slide it over and my comments to make them really big, like to see the chat coming in. I have to make that super big. And so I can't, like, I always have to adjust and move over the comments. Can you guys be a little bit extra in the chat with like the muting and blocking if necessary? Because it actually takes me a second to like move everything and adjust, because I have to have TikTok Studio pulled over more than what I normally do to show these images. So that's my ask of you guys today. You guys are always so amazing, but I just wanted to put that out there because sometimes I get to it before you guys do. So anyway, we'll go back into it. We're in Exodus chapter 27, verses 9 through 19. So it says, "You shall also make the court of the tabernacle for the south side, where there shall be hangings for the court made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side, and its 20 pillars and their 20 sockets shall be bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be silver. Likewise, along the length of the north side, there shall be hangings 100 cubits long." Okay, let me see if I can pull this up as I really need my magnifying glass. So I want to show you the court of the tabernacle. I'm going to show you a couple pictures of it. So actually, let me look how long a cubit is. I know it has it in this book. So that's a really good question. So this is the court of the tabernacle. I'm going to show you another picture of it here in a second, but I did want to look at, I know my Bible does have the dimensions, but it might take me a second to look that part of it up. Do you guys know, if you guys know how long a cubit is it 18 inches? Is that feet or inches? I don't know if that little indicator is a foot or an inch. I'm not good at that. I'm not good with math or measurements. Okay, so okay, inches. From the tip of the fingers to the elbow. Okay, So this is the court of the tabernacle. Can you guys see that? I did my best to take pictures on my phone. This is the court, so I'm going to describe it. I'm going to also show you another picture of the tabernacle. There's this one. Letty is the one that sent me this from her Bible. And then, where's the last one? I had 3 of them here. There's one more. We're slow moving today, guys. Okay, I found it. This is another one, okay? So these are some images of the tabernacle here. I feel like a documentary style, like, you know how tour guides are? They're like, and here. That's what I feel like today with you guys. Okay, so I'll read through it and you guys can visualize it. So it says, you shall make the court of the tabernacle. For the south side there shall be hangings for the court made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side. Verse 10 says, and its 20 pillars and their 20 sockets shall be bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be silver. Likewise along the length of the north side there shall be hangings 100 cubits. I feel like this court doesn't really show us these things that I'm describing. I wonder if one of these ones does. That one's the one Letty sent me. Let's see if this one does it better. Maybe this one shows it a little bit better. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. I don't know where any of these things are that they're describing, but maybe you guys can look around. So in this one, it says that, and along the width of the court of the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, with their 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The width of the court on the east side shall be 50 cubits, and the hangings on one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And on the other side shall be hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. For the gate of the court there shall be a screen. Let's see if we can see that. Is it, I wonder if it's this. Actually, let me pull it up. Let me get a closer one. So, okay, I'm just going to read what this says here. I don't think you guys can see the little words, can you? That's pretty tiny if you can. So, can you even see my mouse? I don't know how helpful that is. If you guys can't even see it. This piece where you see those like purple layers, they provided a waterproof covering and camouflaging. So that's the rich interior from the enemies and the bandits. And then the ram skins, the next layer. Can you guys see my mouse? You probably can't see that. I wonder if there's like a pointer. Okay, that's fine as long as you guys can see the words. You don't need to see my mouse. The ram skins were dyed. There was goat hair. And then, oh, the pillars are on page 112. Darn it. I should have taken a picture. I guess I can technically do that and upload it. That one says it's Solomon's Temple. That one is on page 112. Okay. I'm going to take a picture of it. And then I'll try to upload it. Use a ruler. You guys wouldn't be able to see me, though, if I used a ruler. Okay. Give me just a second, guys. I'm going to upload the pillars. So then when we go down, there is, let me get back to that page. The fine twisted linen was blue, purple, and scarlet, and there was yarn with cherubim embroidered by skilled craftsmen. Can you guys see the embroidery on that? Just use my phone on Google. Oh, I guess I could. I can't. The reason why I can't is because, oh, I guess I could. I could change my camera. That's okay, you guys. I'll just leave it here. I should do that sometimes because I can switch between my phone camera and my actual camera up there, but it's fine since you guys can see the words. And And then this thing right here, it is, that is the Ark of the Covenant, this little bottom thing. And then the posts of the acacia wood are right here. And so they were overlaid with gold and gold tops and silver bases. And then that's the veil. This right here is the veil, this other part. And then the wall and the incense altar, the crossbars. Goodness, when you see the intricacy of this, it's incredible. Like, I'm sure you guys can't fully see like as close since you don't have the book, but like these are all, I don't know, it's just so incredible. It's incredible to see like the level of depth of detail that God, I mean, obviously we can look at outside and know that God is a God of detail, but like for him to tell somebody else how to make something to this level of intricacy and to work like this is amazing to me. Then there's the crossbars, the lampstand, the upright frames and the silver bases, the holy place, the table with bread. It's beautiful. I love that. I think that's so amazing. I'm glad I get to show you guys these things. Okay, you guys can, I'll get back on here. I could leave those up all day. So those were verses 9 through 19. Okay, this is the courtyard. This is the outermost space of the entire tabernacle structure. So inside the courtyard, inside the courtyard sat the altar of burnt offering, right? It was beyond it was the tabernacle tent itself, and the holy place and the most holy place. So the courtyard was the space between the outside world and the sacred interior, okay? I think this part gets skipped over a lot on the tabernacle because everybody just wants to get to the ark and the veil and the mercy seat. I think the courtyard is actually what makes, like, it's one of the most important pieces because it makes all of that accessible. So we're in Exodus chapter 27. Okay, the courtyard was the space that an ordinary person could come to it. Like the priests, they went into the tabernacle, but the courtyard was a space where the ordinary people could come to. And so the high priest alone went behind the veil into the most holy place. So look at that, okay? On the left side, that is the space where it's the most holy place. Everything on the right side of it, that's where the ordinary people went, right? So this little person right here, they're in the holy place. On the other side of it, that's where the priests could go. So the high priest alone went behind the veil into the holy place, but the courtyard was for the average Israelite. Okay, that was for the farmer, the mother, the craftsman. Okay, the person with no priestly lineage and no special credential. Do I have that one? I think I might. Yeah, I have that one. That was the one that I showed before. It's on page, the one that I'm looking at right now is on page 93, the one that I just showed you of the tabernacle. If you guys have this book, you don't have to have it. But just to answer you, Christine, I think some of us have it, so they're putting it in the chat too. But if you guys do have it and people want to know what page, you guys can put that in there. So these people were ordinary people, just like you and I, right? Like, I don't know if any of you guys are high priest or priestesses here in this live, but they're ordinary people, right? They could come to the gate and they could enter and they could bring their offering to the altar. God actually designed a space for the people, or like the person who didn't qualify for the inner rooms. So when you look at verse 16, it says, "For the gate of the court there shall be a screen 20 cubits long, woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver." Okay, the screen for the gate of the courtyard, it was made of blue and purple and scarlet thread and fine linen. Those are the same materials as the inner curtains of the tabernacle and the veil itself, right here on the far left side. The tabernacle and the veil itself were made, like it was made of those same materials. It was the most expensive dyes available. We talked about that yesterday. We also spoke about the colors of royalty and wealth. God, He made the entrance for the ordinary people. He made it for that ordinary person with the same quality of material as the most sacred space in the structure. Just sit with that for a second, okay? The person who would never enter the holy place, who had no priestly lineage and no special access, they stepped through a gate that was made with that same purple and blue and scarlet as a veil before the ark of God. God didn't make a lesser entrance for the person who had lesser credentials. He actually made it. He made it the way in the same way, in the same beautiful materials for the ordinary person, in the same way He used it for the most sacred space in the entire structure. I want you to think about what that communicates. So when you design a space for someone, when you put the entrance, like when you put it at the entrance, it actually tells them how much you thought about them getting there. So God, He put royal colors at the gate of the courtyard, not for the priest, because the priest went through the tabernacle itself. The royal colors at the gate were for the ordinary person. That was for the woman who was not Aaron, right? The one who came from the outside of the camp with her oil and her offering and no credentials. God actually dressed the entrance for her. I think there's some of us that have a type of faith where maybe you've talked yourself into believing that you get a smaller portion of access, right? Like there are closer spaces, deeper prayer, more intimate relationship with God. Those are for the people that maybe have earned more or studied more or have messed up more, right? And you show up grateful at least to just be on the outer edge of something real. What Exodus 27 is telling us is that God built the courtyard on purpose. He designed a very specific space for you to come to. He made the entrance beautiful. He made it specifically for the person who was walking in from the outside. Like the quality of the gate is a direct statement of how much He wanted you to get there. In the Message translation of this section, verse 9, it says, God's instructions began with to make a courtyard for the dwelling. So the very first instruction about the outer spaces after the interior was complete was that He wanted to build a place for the people to come. That was before the altar was specified, before the utensils were listed. He said, make a courtyard, make a place for them to come first. So when He built a place for you to come before Him, He actually described what you would do when you got there. So I'm going to ask you something. If you heard that God specifically designed a space for you to come to, like a place where you could show up, and that place was a place that He built specifically for you to come to, what would you bring today? I'm going to give you some options, okay? Is it A, something that you've been praying about for a really long time and you're still waiting on? Is it B, something that you've been carrying alone that you haven't actually given to God yet? Which one is that? Is it A, something that you've been praying about? Like if you knew that He created a specific place for you to stop and lay it down, would it be something that you've been praying for a long time? Or B, something that you've been carrying alone that you haven't actually given to Him, something that you're surrendering? Is it A or B? Good morning, Mom. If you knew He created that space for you, okay. You could either drop something else if it's not any of those things. So in Exodus chapter 27 verses 20 through 21. I gotta find it again. The care of the lampstand. Let me look this up so I can double check to see if there's, okay. I'm gonna show you guys, sorry if that's loud. Sometimes my mic picks up any and everything. So let me find it. Oh my goodness. I need bifocals to read this. I labeled them. Maybe it's this one. No. One second. Tabernacle veil. Maybe I didn't upload it yet. I thought I did. Where is it? That's the wrong one. There it is. Okay. There this one is. So, this is the golden lampstand. This is the one that we're going to be reading about in Exodus 27, verse 20. So, it says, "And you shall command the children of Israel that they bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lampstand to burn continually. In the tabernacle of meeting outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall tend it from evening until morning before the Lord." My mic is buzzing a little. Don't do that, Mike. Let me know if it gets bad, you guys, okay? It might have been because I was close to it. So, it shall be a statute forever to their generations on behalf of the children of Israel. Okay, so that's what this looks like. The golden lampstand. Let me take this off. I gotta figure out which one it is. There we go. Okay, so this one. This one was, I just read from verses 20 through 21. Okay, these are 2 verses at the end of the chapter, and they're very easy to move past. But we're going to sit with them for just a minute. So the oil for the lampstand was a pure oil of pressed olives. Okay, so the ordinary people, they brought it. Okay, the ordinary Israelites who had never entered the tabernacle, they brought the material that kept the light burning inside of it. So the priest, he tended the lamp inside the holy place from evening until morning. Okay. But the oil that fueled the lamp, it came from the people in the courtyard. So these people, they brought it from the outside, which meant that their faithfulness in the outer space was directly what sustained what was happening in the inner space. I think something that we tend to miss about this is that the people could not see the lampstand. They weren't allowed inside the tabernacle. They had no way of watching the lamp that they were fueling. Okay? They just brought the oil and trusted that what they were contributing was going to go, it was going to keep going, and they couldn't even see it. So in Hebrew, that word for continually, it means always, without interruption. It's unceasing. So the lamp, it burned continually without interruption or without ceasing. And so the oil for that lamp, it came from the faithfulness, like the faithful bringing of people who never got to see it burn. I want you to think about how that is like for us, okay? So we've been doing something day in and day out faithfully, right? We've been praying, we've been studying, we've been showing up. We've been doing the work before the results arrive. You haven't always been able to see whether any of it is making a difference, right? Maybe that's you in your business, right? You're showing up time and time and time again. Maybe that's you as a mom, and you're like parenting your children, and you're like, I pray that the things that I'm teaching them right now are actually going to make a difference. Maybe it's you for your family members. You have somebody where maybe you're the only one of faith, and you're showing up time and time and time again for them, and you're like, I hope that it's making a difference in their lives, right? Whatever that is, you've been bringing it day in and day out. You've been faithful to it. You couldn't see whether the results were there or not, but you showed up anyway, right? That's what... I'm mute. I hope not. Are you guys good? Can you hear me? I just want to double check before I keep going. Okay, you can hear me now. Hopefully it was just on your end. Is there buzzing at all? I know Erica said there was buzzing. Like any humming or anything like that? Because I'll have to adjust if it gets loud. Okay. I love when you guys are like, yes, yes, no. No buzzing. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So I want you to think about this. Like the people standing in the courtyard, they were the ones keeping the lamp burning in the room that they couldn't enter. So their daily bringing of the oil, it was directly connected with the light inside. They just couldn't see the connection from where they were standing. Their contribution, it was very important, right? The effect that they had on it was real. The visibility was just on delay for them. Okay? It was just on delay. So we're going to go into chapter 28, because today we're reading from 27 and 28. So I want to show you how chapter 27 actually connects directly to 28. So chapter 27 built the outer space. It built the courtyard, the altar, the gate where the ordinary person entered. So the person, like the people, they could come about just this far, right? They could only go to that point. They could bring offerings and they could approach. The tabernacle itself, the inner rooms, like the space where God specifically dwelt, they could not get there. Think about this, okay? The tabernacle is the thing that gets assembled and disassembled every single time they moved. They had to carry it. Families were assigned specific parts to carry. So they each moved it together, as about 2 million people did as they went into the wilderness. And so every time they stopped, they had to reassemble it. There were people that didn't get to go inside of the tabernacle. Okay? They could only get into this courtyard. So the tabernacle itself, the inner rooms and the place where God specifically dwelt, they couldn't go there. So there's a gap between the courtyard where most people stood and the most holy place where God's presence was. And somebody had to cross that gap on behalf of the people. Somebody had to take what the people brought into the courtyard and carry it all the way into the presence of God. So what's happening in chapter 28 is about the person who does that and how God dresses him for the journey. Pay attention to this, okay? So in chapter 28, I'm going to read verses 1 through 4. So it says, "Now take Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as a priest, Aaron and Aaron's sons." There's Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Probably said all those wrong, except Aaron. But that's what we're going with, okay? So, "And you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother for glory and for beauty." Remember, God is speaking to Moses at this time. What we're seeing in verses 27 and 28 is God just telling Moses as he's on the mountain, on the mountain or Mount Sinai for 40 days. He's speaking, this is all instruction to him. Okay, so when he says, "And you shall make garments for Aaron your brother," he's speaking to Moses. And then it says, "So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, and that he may minister to me as priest. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, a ephod, a robe, a skillful woven tunic, a turban, and a sash, so that they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, and he may minister to me as a priest." I want to show you what this looks like, okay? Let's see. Where is his cute little outfit? Look at this. Look how cute this is. This is what he wears as the high priest. So this is what God is saying: make this outfit for him so that he looks like this when he comes before me. I think he looks cute. In this, I'm going to leave it up. I'm going to describe this to you guys, okay? So, God calls Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. And the first thing that he says about them is that he wants them dressed. He specifies garments. And he says something that I want to focus on. Okay, so the garments are for glory and for beauty. The word that God uses here, like he uses words that are very specific. He does look very grand. Could you imagine somebody coming in front of you and looking like that? You'd probably be like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" Right? So the word translated glory, in that word, it meant weighty or substantial or significant. That is the same word that is used for the glory of God that descended on the mountain in smoke and fire. It's the same word so the word beauty is translated, it means splendor. Like it's meant as splendor, but it carries that meaning not just as a decoration. So these words are not words that you use when you're describing a work uniform. I've never worn anything that grand when I've gone to work. Okay. They're words that you use when when somebody who wears this is supposed to communicate something about who they are and who they serve. So God is actually he's dressing the person who would carry Israel before him, and he wants them dressed in glory and beauty. What he did is he commissioned skilled artists. He said he wanted people who were filled with the spirit of wisdom specifically for this. Okay. He wanted them to make those garments. The priest's clothes, they were not a side project. They were a primary commission that required spiritual gifting to execute. Okay, there were 6 pieces on this. I'll bring this back up again. There's 6 pieces to this. So if you guys can look at the words and read it, then you'll see which one each one is pointing to. I don't remember what page I have it on. What page is that? Let me double check. It's somewhere in here so that I can see it to read it to you guys. Okay, so there is a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a tunic, a turban, and a sash. So each one of them is actually going to tell us something about how God thinks about the people that the priest is carrying. So I'm going to go through them, okay? So in Exodus verses 28, verse 5 through 14, it's the ephod. I don't know how to say that. If you guys know how to pronounce it, you guys can put it in there. So if I'm mispronouncing it, I don't keep doing it. But this one, the ephod, is they take the gold. It says they shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Let me put him back up here so we can envision this. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and the fine linen, and they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and a fine woven linen, artistically worked. Ephod? I don't know. E-days? I don't think it's that. I don't know how to pronounce that. Ephod. Yes? Okay. Ephod. Okay. It shall have 2 shoulder straps joined at its 2 edges, and it shall be joined together. And the intricately woven band of the ephod, which is on it, shall be of the same workmanship, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. Okay. So am I pronouncing it right, you guys? Okay, this is correct. Sometimes I say it and it's delayed. Your comments as they come in. So it says, and then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave them on the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone and 6 names on the other stone, and in order of their birth, with the work of an engraver in the stone, like the engravings of a signet. And you shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall set them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod. I'm going to be self-conscious of this the whole time now. As a memorial stone for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. Okay, so you guys saw this cute little outfit that he's wearing. This grand, beautiful, extravagant uniform. And so I want to talk about what this means for us, okay? The ephod is the outer garment of the priest, right? We already established this, but I want you to think of it like a vest or like an apron that sat on everything else. And so it's made of gold and blue and purple, right? And a scarlet thread and fine linen. It is the same materials as the interior of the tabernacle and the gate of the courtyard. I think by the time we get through this, you guys are going to have those colors memorized. The priest, he's actually wearing the language of the space that he serves in. He's clothed in it. But the part that I want to stay with is the shoulder stones, okay? They are 2 onyx stones. There's one on each shoulder, and they're engraved on those stones are the names of the 12 sons of Israel. 6 names on one stone and 6 names on the other, and they are in the birth order. So every name, like all 12 of the tribes, including the ones that caused problems, right? If you guys are familiar about when we went through the story of Jacob, right, and his sons, how they're all the 12 tribes. There were some of them that were like, caused issues. It also included the ones who wandered, the ones who messed up, and then they had to come back, right? Every single name is engraved on the stone, on the shoulder of the one who went before God on their behalf. So Aaron, he wore those names every single time that he entered into the tabernacle. So in verse 12, the word that's used there, in Greek, it means memorial or remembrance, right? It says to wear it as a memorial. It means in remembrance. So every single time that Aaron walked into the presence of God, those 12 names came with him. God saw those stones and God read the names, and every ordinary Israelite that was standing in the courtyard, they were standing there with their oil and their offerings. That name was already in the room before they took another step. So I want to share a little known fact with you guys. Okay, those 12 stones on the breastplate are the origin of our modern day birthstones. Did you guys know that? So first century Jewish historian Josephus, I don't remember how to say his name. I'm awful with pronunciations. Okay. He connected the 12 stones on Aaron's birthplate to the 12 months of the year. So that tradition had actually carried throughout history and became the birthstone calendar that we use today. So the reason why you know your birthstone is because God told Moses to engrave the names of his people on the 12 specific precious I'm going to cry, you guys. On the 12 specific precious gemstones and carry them over a priest's heart into his presence. That means every single piece of birthstone jewelry worn anywhere in the world today, it actually traces back to this chapter. So God actually put the names of his people on gemstones, not on common wood or stone. It's the most precious, most valuable materials available. They're the jewels. And he had them carried before him continually. That's how he chose to represent his people in the most holy place as something precious and as something worth setting in stone. I can't with that. That's incredible to me. So in the Hebrew, that word, it runs through this entire section. It says he bore them, he carried them. That's the same word that's used in Isaiah 53, verse 4. It says, surely he has bore our griefs and carried our sorrows, right? That same word for what Aaron did, it's what he did with the names of the tribes. It's the same word that describes the suffering that the servant does in Isaiah. The same word that points directly to Jesus on the cross. God is setting up a pattern 400 years before Isaiah writes it. Aaron, he's carrying the names on his shoulders as a preview of what Jesus will do. And then in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 16, it says, as God is speaking to Israel, it says, see, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. I'm going to lose it on this live if I don't get it together. The only thing that I think of is this, when I can't even begin to put into words like the love of God. He says, maybe you're not able to go in here right now, but I want you to know that that you're with me, that I'm thinking specifically of you as I'm doing this. Like the intentionality of him, it never ceases to bring me to tears. The high priest engraved names on stones and carried them on his body into the presence of God. And God said, I have engraved you on my hands. Right? Remember when we spoke about the womb and how Jesus said, I won't forget you. How could I forget you? You're engraved into the palms of my hands. Right? I love you that much. I'll never forget you. He's showing us again, I haven't forgotten you. You are the most precious thing, right? When he says, I will carry you on the wings, like how an eagle does with his little eaglet, or how he tells us that we are his most prized treasure. It makes me tear up because it's the love of him. I can't fathom it. I have to drink my water. I should have brought tissues this time. It's just so beautiful to me. So I'll probably keep crying. But the thing that this high priest was doing, it's a version of what God himself was actually already doing. Aaron, he was reflecting the posture of God to his people. He said, I carry you. Your name is on me. I'm going to bring you in. So when Jesus, when he died on the cross, the wounds on his hands, they remained. The resurrection didn't erase them. That's when Thomas, you remember when Thomas touched them in John 26, he said, they're still here, right? Like Jesus showed him his wounds. The name of God, right? The name of God said that he engraved it on his palms. The permanence of that is written into the resurrected body of Jesus, right? He remembers us. Your names were on the stones, right? Your names are on his hands. Your name has been in this room longer than you have been showing up to get there. So I want to ask you something. Can you think of a time when God was moving on something before you even knew to ask? Maybe it's a door that opened up before you even knocked. Maybe it was a provision before you prayed. Something that arrived before you even named what you needed. You can just put yes. You can even tell me what it was. He is a God that he has not forgotten us in any way. He is always providing for us. Like there's so many doors that have opened and I was like, I didn't even know this was possible. That's not even a thought that I had as a potential that I could even do. And you made a way before I even thought of it. So in Exodus 20, we're in Exodus 28. And I need to welcome you guys in. It's been a minute. Apologies if I haven't welcomed you all in. I love to think of you. So when I welcome you all in, I love to think of us as actually if I were speaking to you in a room, like sitting with you all and you guys are coming in the door, I love to welcome you in. Like if we were all sitting together and I just saw you walk in the door, I'd want to welcome you in, right? I wouldn't want to ignore you. So that's what I love to do. I love to intentionally welcome you all in for that reason. Also, I need to remind some of you that came in a little bit later and let you know that I have a free gift for you at the bottom left hand of your screen. There's a gold icon. It's my thank you to you guys. We also have all of the replays. If you are new here, I want to welcome you in. Can you guys it's almost like your way of raising your hand and saying, I'm new here. I want to see you. If you're like, I think I want to stay just a minute, I still want to welcome you in. And I want you to hopefully get that gift. Today we have our Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge, day 1. We do this challenge every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after the Bible study. And if you guys have gone through it before, this one's more in depth. So I invite you to do it again. Okay? Also, I remembered, I wanted to ask you guys something else. What is your birthstone? I was like, let me finish this. I want to get through this. What is your birthstone? Mine is a sapphire. I love my birthstone. I don't have my birthstone in anything. My grandma used to always remind me, or she would get me certain things, but mine is a sapphire. Does that mean all the sapphires I think are September? Got a lot of, that's like the thing that I'm seeing most is September. Mine's the 26th. What is your guys's? If you're September, mine's September 26th. I am a September baby. It makes me think of birthstones differently now. It makes me want to go get one and wear it everywhere. What about you guys? I'm like, wow, I don't think I ever knew that until I studied this. I want to go buy it and just wear it boldly, knowing that the Father is obviously we know that he created birthstones, but the significance behind it makes me want to go get a ring and wear it. So, we are in Exodus chapter 28. We've read 27 and 28. So, can't believe it's only 10:25. Feels like I've been on this study a little bit longer. Okay. So if you missed what I said about the birthstones, I'll try to do it again without crying. I actually wanted to tell you guys, just in case you missed it, okay? So there was a high priest that would go into the holy place, into the holy tabernacle. God commissioned Aaron. He said, Aaron, you're going to go and be that person to walk in there. But as you do that, you're going to do it in memorial. So what he had on his little outfit, his little high priest outfit that God specifically told Moses to have created for him. He told him to commission the best of the best to create this. And on his on his shoulders, in gold, were the birthstones of each of the tribes, the 12 tribes of Judah. And those birthstones are actually significant. That's where our birthstones come from, the 12 months of the year. The 12 months, the 12 tribes of Judah, each one had a different birthstone, which is how we have all 12 of ours, right? They are our modern day birthstones. So what that means, the reason why we even know our birthstones is because God told Moses to engrave them, to engrave the names of his people in 12 specific precious stones to carry them over to the priest's heart into God's presence. That was God's way of saying, I remember you. You are, even though you can't come here right now, you can't come into this place. No, I should research that. I should research what tribe goes with which stone. I should do that. Maybe I'll take that away and tell us tomorrow. Okay, so we are in, I need to find my place again. So we are in Exodus chapter 28, verses 15 through 30. At which month, who assigned the month to the stone? Yeah, I'll look into that and bring that back for us and see which one had which. But we put our stones up a little bit earlier in the chat, I think. I know you guys put your birthstone, the stone itself, but you can also put the month too if you guys are curious. You guys are welcome to Google it too if you want to do that while we're on the live and put that in there. But otherwise, I'll bring it tomorrow too. So we are in Exodus 28. I'm going to read through verses 15 through 30. This is the breastplate. So it says, you shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You should make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. You shall make it. It shall be doubled into a square, A span shall be its length, and the span shall be its width. Let me pull that back up. This little outfit. So, and you shall put settings of the stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be I just lost my place. The first row shall be sardius, a topaz, and an emerald shall be the first row. The second row shall be a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, I don't know how to say this word, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl and an onyx and a jasper. They shall be set in gold settings, and the stone shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of the signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes. You shall make chains for the breastplate at the end, like braided cords of pure gold, and you shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. Then you shall put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings which are the ends of the breastplate, and the other 2 ends of the braided chains you shall fasten to the 2 settings and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod of the front. Then you shall make 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the ephod, and the 2 other rings of gold you shall make and put them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod towards its front right of the seam above the intricately woven band of the ephod. They shall bind the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod, using a blue cord so that it is above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and so that the breastplate does not come loose from the ephod. And Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of the judgment over his heart. So when he goes into the holy place as a memorial. Did I read this already, you guys? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Okay, I didn't think I did, but this sounds familiar. And you shall put the breastplate of the judgment of Urim and Thummim, and they shall be over Aaron's heart when he goes in before the Lord. So Aaron shall wear the judgment of the Lord, of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord continually. Okay. So this was verses 15 through 30. So, let me take this down really quick. Okay. So at this point in time, we just read about the breastplate. And so there's 12 stones. There's 1 for each of the tribes. They're set in gold. There's 4 rows of 3. And each stone is actually a different precious jewel, right? We listed all of them. There's 12 different gemstones. Thank you, Sandra. Each one of them are different. Sorry. Each one is representing a different tribe, and each one is engraved with a name. So Aaron already has the 12 names on his shoulders from the ephod. Now they appear again. So this time they're on his chest over his heart. They're on his shoulders and his chest, both at the same time. So there's one commentary on this passage, and it said it very plainly. It's not enough for the high priest to work for the people. He had to love them. So the shoulder said, I carry you. I bear your weight. I take responsibility for you getting before God. The heart said, I hold you close. I want you near to me. So this is personal. So God actually designed the garment so that these 2 things couldn't be separated. The breastplate was actually attached to the ephod with gold rings and a blue cord so that it couldn't come loose. So that detail in the original Hebrew is that it was bound so that it would not swing out from the ephod. God literally built it into the garment. Like he built that into the garment, that the instruction was for love and responsibility, and they had to stay together. They don't come apart. So think about what this means for us, for our own relationships for just a minute. So the places where you've been well cared for, and like the people who have truly carried you, it was always both, right? Someone who bore your weight and someone who held you close. So the garment that God designed for the priest would represent his people, and that it was built on that exact combination, shoulders and heart. That meant power and love. There was responsibility and intimacy. So in the MSG, in the translation of this, in verse 29, so we're in Exodus chapter 28. So in the MSG translation of verse 29, it said, Aaron will regularly carry the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of judgment over his heart as he enters the sanctuary into the presence of God for remembrance. That meant that he did it regularly. He did it over his heart for remembrance, not once, or even occasionally, but every single time that he entered. He said, your name's going to go into the presence of God on a regular basis, onto the chest of someone who has been specifically tasked with carrying you there. So when we look into Hebrews chapter 7, verse 25, it lands here. It says, and I need you to feel the weight of this, because it says, therefore, he is also able to let me read this again. Therefore, he is also able to save to the uttermost those who come to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. Okay? Aaron did not just do this once a year. Jesus does this always. That word isn't sometimes, or maybe when you have done enough, or your days are good enough, or your offering was good enough. That always, it lives to make that intercession. The name on the breastplate is a permanent arrangement, right? Your name is over his heart right now. Not because you earned it this morning, because he has always had it on it. He has always had you on his heart. In Hebrews chapter 4, verses 15 through 16, in the Message, in that translation, it says, we don't have a priest who is out of touch with our reality. He has been through weakness and testing, and he has experienced it at all but sin. So let's walk up to him and get what he's ready to give. Take the mercy, accept the help. That's what the translation says. So we're supposed to walk up to him, to take the mercy, to accept the help. That is the direct instruction from this image on the breastplate. So the names over his heart, the priest, he's not out of touch with our reality. He's saying, walk up, because he's ready. God is ready for us. He wants us to go to him. We have an intercessor for us. That is Jesus Christ. He remembered every part of what we were going to struggle with. He says, walk up to him, take the mercy, accept the help. That's what the breastplate is representing to us. I want to stop here before we get to the rest of the garments, because something I feel like needs to hit us personally before we keep going. God actually designed a space for the ordinary person to come to. He made this gate beautiful. It was for the person who was coming from the outside. He built a place of offering that had 4 corners of refuge. He put the name of every tribe on those gemstones. They were precious and individual and specific stones. And then they carried them into his presence on his shoulders over the heart of the priest. And he tied the responsibility and the intimacy together so that they wouldn't come apart. And then in Isaiah 49, he says, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. So that means that he keeps track of his people by carrying them on his body. This is not an image of a God who manages his people from a distance. This is an image of a God that says, your name is on me. I bring you in. I carry you into the places that you can't go yet by yourself. Or you can't go yourself. I hold you on my shoulders, and I hold you against my heart, and I go before you. So at the beginning of the live, I asked you guys a question. I said, is any, we have been praying, and some of us have been doing it for so long, and we're showing up faithfully, doing our daily things day in and day out, to the point where it's felt like, is God seeing any of this? right? Is any of these things that I'm doing, are any of them actually reaching him? I asked you that. Have any of you felt like that? It's been to the point where you're like, just day in and day out, consistently the same things. God, is this going anywhere? Is the parenting that I'm doing with my children, is it reaching anywhere? Is the things that I'm doing, like, are the things that I'm doing in my business, is it reaching you? Does it matter? Is it going to go anywhere? The whole structure for Exodus 27 and 28 is actually the answer. The courtyard was built so that you had somewhere to come. The altar was built with corners so it had the refuge so that you had somewhere to be held. The priest, he was dressed up with your name on his body before he ever walked in. So your faithful thing, whether that's your morning prayer, the daily showing up, the oil that you bring, just like the Israelites who couldn't even go into the courtyard, you bring that consistently, right? It was designed to reach him. He built a system to make sure that it did. I think this is the part that gets me most, right? The names, they weren't just added to the garment after the priest had done enough. The garment was actually designed with the names on it from the very beginning. Remember, as we are reading this is God telling Moses from the mount. This is him on top of the mountain. None of this has been done yet. This is him giving instructions for it. The names were built into the blueprint. God specified that the shoulder stones and the breastplate were a part of the original design for the garments before Aaron even served a single day as the high priest. That carrying, it came first. The names were on the garment before Aaron even put it on, which tells me that your name, it was in the room before you started the practice, before you built this habit, before you showed up this morning. He was already carrying you in it. I want to give him a shout of praise. Can we say that he sees it? He sees the things that you're doing. He is not silent. He is not absent. He is not gone, because he sees it. That is my declaration for you guys to hold on to today. He sees it. He sees it. So, we are in Exodus chapter 28, and I'm going to read through verses 31 through 35. Okay? It says, "You shall make the robe of the ephod on all blue. There shall be an opening for his head in the middle of it, and it shall have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening of a coat of the male, or opening in a coat of mail, so that it does not tear. And upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. A golden bell of pomegranate." Let's see if this has this on there. I don't remember. Can you guys see that? Do you see this? I'm sorry. Literally, I've never had a comment like that, and I just find it to be so funny. Thank you, Sandra. Sometimes these comments just make me laugh. Can you guys see these things that I'm describing where it says, you shall make, upon its hem, you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem. And then, so the little bits of it, does need a purr, the little bits of it. And then it says, a golden bell and pomegranate, a golden bell. Why does it say that? It says it twice. A golden bell and pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate. That's not me like glitching. It's literally what it says in the verse. Upon the hem of the robe all around. It shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, and its sound will be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, when he comes out, that he may not be unalived. Yes, I just wanted you to know that that wasn't me just like stuttering. So it says, you shall also make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet. Holiness to the Lord. Okay, and you shall put it on the blue cord, and it may be on the turban, and it shall be on the front of the turban. So it shall be on Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel hallow all their holy gifts. And it shall be on his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. I'm trying to get to this. Can you guys see that it says that on there? Like where it says it on this little, because the image that I see on mine, I can't even find this page. I don't see that wording, but do you guys see it? Where it says holiness to the Lord. I don't think mine has it on there. But anyway, it's supposed to say that if it doesn't. I don't remember where this little thing is that I got this picture at in this book. But you guys are saying no, so it doesn't have it on there. But it says, and you shall skillfully weave the tunic of fine linen thread. You shall make the turban of fine linen, and you shall make the sash of woven work. Okay, so for Aaron's sons, you shall make tunics, and you shall make sashes for them. And you shall make hats for them, and glory and beauty. So you shall put them on Aaron your brother, and on his sons with him, and you shall anoint them, consecrate them, and sanctify them, and that they may minister to me as priests. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness. They shall reach from the waist to the thighs. They shall be on Aaron and his sons when they come into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister in the holy place, that they do not incur iniquity and pass away. It shall be a statute for whoever, or forever to him and his descendants after him. Okay, so in this place, I just read through 31 through 43. Okay, so when we look here, it says that the robe was entirely blue. It was a deep royal blue from the hem all the way up. And so around the bottom of the hem, it alternated between two things. It was pomegranate and golden bells. The pomegranate bell all the way up. Okay, so the pomegranate was an image of fruitfulness and the promised land. So in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 8, it describes the land that God was leading Israel into as the land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, pomegranates, olive trees, and honey. So that pomegranate that's being described there, it was the image of the promise of abundance that was coming. So God sewed this image of the promise into the hem of the garment at the very bottom. That was the lowest part of the robe, and it was the one that dragged the closest to the ground. So these bells, they were there for a reason. So what verse 35 gives us is something very direct. It's very direct so that the sound of the priest's movements could be heard when he entered and he exited the holy place. So according to I don't know how to say this word, rabbinic, I think, like a rabbi, rabbinic tradition, the holy priest actually entered the most holy place on Yom Kippur completely alone. So nobody could be with him. The people on the outside, they waited and they listened, and if the bells kept ringing, that meant that the priest was still moving. He was still alive. He was still functioning in the presence of God. So the people actually waited for that sound. So the part that I find to be interesting is that about these two things together is that the bells said that I'm still here, right? The pomegranates said that the promise is still coming. So they were both at the hem of the same garment on the same priest at the same time. So God actually dressed the priest with the image of continuing and the image of promise at the exact same level. It was the lowest part, right? The worn edge, that's the part that touched the ground. And so I want you to think about this. What is one thing that has stayed fruitful or hopeful in your life, even in the seasons where it felt like everything else was hard, like it felt really hard? Was it your faith, your kids, a friendship, your community, the work that you do, a study, prayer? Because what God is showing us is he has this continuous image, and it stays there at the bottom. Sometimes the parts that feel like the lowest, it's continual. So what stayed faithful to you, or fruitful, or hopeful in your life, even when things felt hard? God is saying there's a promise in that. And the places where it feels the hardest, the lowest, I'm continually going to be there. That is at the exact same level. So when we read through verses 36 through 38, there is a plate of pure gold on the front of the turban. It's right on Aaron's forehead. It's engraved like a signet ring with the words holiness to the Lord. Yes, men can be here. This is the most permanent material, right? The most visible. Like, it's in a very visible location on the priest's body. The declaration was facing outward for anybody who saw him. So in verse 38, it actually says, "So it shall be on Aaron's forehead that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel, holy in all their holy gifts, and it shall always be on the forehead that they may be accepted before the Lord." That verse, it tells us what the plate was actually doing. So Aaron, he bore the iniquity of the holy things. Those were the offerings that the people brought. Those were the sacrifices, the gifts, the acts of worship, even when they were imperfect. Even when the people were distracted or tired or not even at their best, right? The priest, he bore the iniquity of all of those offerings. He carried the gap between what the people brought and what God deserved. And because he did that, the offerings were accepted. It says that they may be accepted before the Lord, right? That is the function of the plate. So in the Message translation of Romans chapter 8, verse 34, it says, who would dare even to point a finger? The one who died for us, who was raised for life for us, is in the presence of God at this very moment, sticking up for us. He's sticking up for us. That is the gold plate language. That is the imperfect offering that you brought this morning, right? The distracted prayer that you maybe gave God. The Wednesday morning where you were showing up out of habit. Right? The days when your best is genuinely not impressive. Someone is in the presence of God right now, bearing that gap between what you brought and what he deserves. And the verdict on your offering is accepted. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve that from God. But he made a way, and I am so grateful for Jesus. You are not disqualified by the ordinary days. The plate on the turban, it says that you are accepted. So I want to speak to those of you who have been bringing the faithful thing consistently, and you're wondering if it's actually reaching God. Right? I asked you that question at the beginning of this live and a couple other times. When you pray and you don't feel like praying. Maybe you study when you're tired. Maybe you show up to work before the confirmation arrives. Like, is this job that I'm doing, the work that I'm doing in my business, is this even meaning anything? Like the days where you maintain whatever you're practicing on the days when nothing dramatic even happens. And you've been doing this long enough that the doing in and of itself has become who you are rather than something that you perform, right? The answer from Exodus 27 and 28 is that the entire system was designed for you. Okay? The courtyard, it was built for the ordinary person, the one who was tired, who lacked strength, who just showed up because that's all they could give, right? The gate was made beautiful for the person walking in from the outside. The oil that the Israelites bring, that's like the oil that we bring to that outer space. Not outer space, but the outer space. It keeps that lamp burning. It keeps it burning on the inner space that we can't see. The names on the breastplate, they were being carried into the presence of God before we even knew what to call what we were doing. So the things that we do day in and day out, they have been reaching him. It was actually designed to reach him. The access, it wasn't waiting on more of us to do more, right? It's not waiting for us to do enough of it. I know there's some of us who bring imperfect offerings, right? I think that's all of us truly. Like the prayers that kind of trail off before they finish, I fall asleep praying to God, or I get distracted all the time. That worship from the exhausted place. The Tuesday or Wednesday morning where we opened up our Bible because we said we would, and we read the same verse like 3 times before anything makes sense to us, before it hits us here. The one who knows that our best days and our other days, like we know those days, right? And we've been wondering secretly if God receives the other days the same way. He receives the best ones. In verse 38, it says that the priest bore the iniquity of the holy things. The imperfect offering was made acceptable by the one who carried it before God. So that gap between what was brought and what was deserved, the priest actually bore it. That means that our days, they reach God. That plate on the turban, it actually covered it. It means that it was accepted. Okay? It was accepted. That's what 28 showed us. We can bring any and everything to God. He wants all of us. So, before we close out the study, if this morning it did something for you, maybe it opened up your eyes to something different. For those of you who have been faithful in the ordinary things, and you need to know that God has designed access for you, He has. Okay? I thank you guys for showing up today. Don't leave. We're not done. Okay? But I just want you to see that. I've also created a space for that for you guys, and I'll tell you more about that later. But just know that He sees you. So at the beginning of the morning, I actually asked you to think about the faithful thing that you have been doing consistently. And you sometimes wonder if God sees it. Sometimes you've dropped a yes, and some of you said not yet before you even knew what we were going to cover today, right? You answered out of your actual life the things that are sitting with you when you opened up the live this morning. Here's what Exodus 27 and 28 showed us. God built a courtyard, and He designed the outer space for the ordinary person, right? The farmer, the mother, the person with no priestly lineage, and He made a gate of that courtyard with the same royal blue and purple and scarlet as the most holy place. He did that before you got to the altar, before you brought anything. That entrance He built for you, it communicated what He thought of you. It communicated what He thought of the person walking through it. He dressed the gate for you with materials that He used for the room closest to His own presence. That altar, it had 4 corners of refuge. This is the place of offering. That was also a place of shelter. You bring something and you're held there with it. That's how God designed it. Then the priest, he put on his garments and the names went on it. They were on his shoulders, right? 12 names in onyx in birth order. They carried that into the presence of God. On the strongest part of His body, on the chest, there were 12 gemstones, 12 individual precious stones tied to the shoulders with gold rings and blue cord so that they couldn't come loose. And the one over the heart, it was the one carrying them. It was responsibility and love, and they were both at one time, both with your name. Here's the thing about gemstones, right? They're formed under pressure over a long time. So those 12 stones on the breastplate, each one took years, sometimes centuries to form. God actually chose the most time-formed, pressure-made materials to represent his people before Him. He didn't choose common stones. He chose what comes from a sustained pressure. He represented His people with the most beautiful things available on earth. Then in Isaiah 49, it says, I have engraved you into the palms of my hands. The high priest, he carried the names on his body in the presence of God. God says, I carry you on mine. So that breastplate, it wasn't a system that God designed to manage access from the distance. It was a reflection of something that he was already doing. He was carrying his people on his body. Your name is engraved. That is permanent language. That doesn't just wash off. That doesn't depend on how good your offering was this morning. So if you typed yes, like your faithful thing that you have been reaching, like if you've wondered if the thing that you've been faithful to has been reaching him, he built the system to make sure that it does. Your name was in the room before you got up this morning, before you had your coffee, before you opened up this live. He was already carrying you. If you typed not yet, you're already in the courtyard, right? The gate is already behind you. You came through the beautiful entrance that he built so specifically for the person coming in from the outside. You are already in the place that he prepared. The priest is already wearing your name. You didn't have to earn your way to the access. The access was actually built for you before you even arrived. God sees you. He has always seen you. And what you've been faithful in bringing to him, it has been landing exactly where it was supposed to land the whole time. So I want you guys to hold on to that this morning, okay? So we're going to move into our prayer, and then we're going to go into our Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge, day 1. Okay? You guys can drop your prayer in the chat. We'll get to that part of it. And then we'll go into our challenge. If you guys are staying to do day 1 again, we're going to do that here in just a little bit. On the bottom left of your screen, I need to figure out how to do this because I realized today that I need to send you the updated version. Like in my emails, I don't have the updated link for the video, and I need to do that. I need to figure out how to do that because all my automations right now, how about I do this? I'll have you join in. You can see the other version of it because I don't think I have day 1 on here. And then I'll send you the link after, like by the end of today. Okay, so give me just 1 second. I'm going to put it back up here because I don't think I have day 1 on here of Hearing God Through the Noise. But if you guys are new here, or any of you want the replays, anything, at the gold, there's a gold icon at the bottom left of your screen. You guys can get the challenge, you can get the replays, you can get all of the stuff there. We're going to move into that. Continue to put in your prayer requests as well while you're waiting for me to get this up. Okay. You'll see Hearing God Through the Noise 3-day challenge. That should be on your screen here in just a second. Okay. Oops, is it not playing? Okay. So we're going to pray, and then we're going to do our Hearing God Through the Noise day 1 challenge. Okay. We're going to do that. So you guys go ahead and put your prayer request in there. That is a good question. What is my prayer? My prayer is for strength and discernment. Okay. All right, so we're going to pray, and then we're going to move into our challenge. All right? Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Such a gift to be able to see the work that you have put into all of the intricacies of how you love us. Just to see a glimpse, Father, we thank you for that. Thank you for moving on our behalf. Thank you for giving us access when we don't deserve it. Thank you for allowing us to come to you as we are, not a perfect version, the one that we are. I know that you see every comment as it comes through the live, and I thank you for giving us a space to come together as a community. Father, I lift up all of these comments as they come in to you. We know that you are a God who sees. Thank you for being what you didn't have to be. I pray that it gives a strength and a comfort to those that are watching this live or on the replay. I pray that they get to see even more of your heart. Thank you for being with us. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for putting those in. I know that we pray over each and every one of you guys. I go back through and I try to pray over as many as I can. All right. So the replay is going to be up at the end of the day today for both the Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge and the Bible study. But if this live, it helped you recognize something or it spoke to you, I encourage you guys to send it. Send it to somebody who needs to hear it. We're going to be in Exodus 29. That is the consecration of the priest. It is 7 days, and it is what it looks like when God sets someone apart for something and what happens in the preparation before the work begins. Okay, so I go live at 9 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday, for about 2 hours. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I actually do our Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge. At the bottom left hand of your screen, you are going to see a gold icon. And in that, you guys can get the replays. You can get the link for the Hearing God Through the Noise Challenge, right? If you guys have already done the day 1 of it, stay. I actually went more in depth. It's going to hit you in a different way. And yes, to answer your question, I do believe in the Trinity. Okay, so in this, we're going to get started. All right, how many of you guys have done this challenge before? Can you put me in the chat? I say that because I'm inviting you to do it again. This is more depth and it will make more sense than what it has the first time you guys did it. I went back and I said, there's a piece of this that I feel like I need to explain more. There's more depth in it. Okay. So we're going to get started here. Now, I do send you guys all, the Kingdom Mandate is a different one. The Kingdom Mandate is about my community. That one's a little bit different. So the Hearing God Through the Noise, day 1, there is a specific one for that. You guys do you see it on there? If you don't, let me know. You can also DM me and just say day 1 and I can get it sent to you. So when I send you the replays, the one that sends out automatically is like the old version of it. I'll send you the updated one today. I just realized as I'm doing this live, I was like, whoops, I don't have that updated link on there. I will make sure that gets to you guys for what we're doing today, okay? So you're going to get the replays for day 1, day 2, and day 3. So even if you miss tomorrow or you miss Friday, or you have to leave early, whatever that looks like, you guys are going to get them. You just have to sign up for that. And you get additional like tips and information. So we're going to get started. This challenge is one of my favorites. I know that there's something that God has been pointing you towards, right? You probably feel it. You probably felt it for a while. Maybe you even have pieces of it. Maybe you have the full picture, but something in you, you know that there is an assignment with your name on it. Okay? If you've already done this, you don't have to sign up again. I'm going to resend it to everybody. Thank you for asking that. Okay? If you're honest, you probably have a reason for why you haven't fully walked into what that is. Okay? You probably have a reasonable, responsible, thoughtful reason for it. Maybe several of them. Today, we're going to look at those reasons a little bit differently. This is day 1 of Hearing God Through the Noise. It is a 3-day challenge, and there is one goal. We are learning to see what has been operating in the space between you and what God has called you to do. There's something in that space, and it's been there long enough that it stopped feeling like interference, and it's just started feeling like a part of your reality. Today, what we're going to be doing is entirely intel. We're not fixing anything. We're going to be learning to see the pattern because you can't move out of something that you can't see. Okay? So before we go anywhere, I need to establish this. Your calling, the calling on your life, it is secure. In Romans chapter 11, verse 29, it says the gifts and the callings of God are irrevocable. Hell cannot unmake what God made. That means that he cannot revoke what God ordained. Okay? So what is not guaranteed is your obedience to it. That means that the specific people that you were meant to reach, the fruit of your yes in this season and what it was meant to produce, that is where the window is real. That's in Romans chapter 11, verse 29. Okay? Esther, her calling was ordained. But Mordecai's warning was still true. He said, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place. That meant that the calling didn't disappear, but the woman who needed to hear what she carried in that moment, they needed it in that moment. The enemy, he can't touch the calling, so he goes after her obedience. He goes after the window. He keeps you circling long enough that the season passes. That is the strategy. That is what we're going to be naming today. So I want you to drop a Y in the chat if you have been circling something that God made very clear to you. Okay? I'm going to help open up your eyes too if some of you are like, I don't know. I don't know what God is calling me to. Maybe he said something to me, but it's not clear. I bet you know, because some of these interference patterns will help you identify this. Okay? So each person God called in scripture, they faced interference. It was almost never destruction. It was almost always delay, dressed as something very reasonable. So Eve, she didn't get attacked, she got a question. So in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, it says, has God indeed said? That was one question, and it introduced enough noise that she stopped trusting what she already knew. She didn't get destroyed, she got confused. Then when we look at Moses, he didn't get stopped. He got intimidated into arguing. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 11, it says, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, right? Moses was called and he was commissioned and he was still arguing, but he didn't get destroyed. He got intimidated. Nehemiah, he didn't get destroyed. He got distracted. So his enemies, they kept calling him down from the wall. We see this in Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 3. It says, I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. He received that same invitation 4 times, and he got the same answer. They got the same answer 4 times. He didn't get destroyed, but he did get pulled at. Then there's Jesus. So right after his baptism, right before his ministry began, he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. The first thing that meets him there is the enemy. So in Matthew chapter 4, verse 3, it says, if you are the Son of God, right? It was an attack. It was not an attack on the work. It was an attack on his identity. That's because if you can destabilize who someone knows themselves to be, the work stops before it starts. The most called person who ever walked the earth, he got tested before he started. So if that happened to him, it's going to happen to you. And it's not a punishment. It's as confirmation. That's because the enemy, he doesn't show up from women who aren't a threat. Every single one of them, they weren't destroyed, they got delayed. And delay, it never looked like warfare to the person that was inside of it. It looked like a reasonable question, right? A legitimate hesitation. Sometimes a responsible pause. That's why this works, okay? So Paul says in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers and the rulers of darkness. That means that the real battle is not where you've been looking. You've been fighting what you can actually see, while the actual source stays untouched. Okay? So in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 4 through 5, it says that the weapons of our warfare are mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, for casting out arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So that stronghold, it's not a demon in your house. It's a thought structure with internal logic that has been in place long enough to feel like your own thinking. We think of it as discernment. Sometimes we think of it as wisdom. It feels like you're just being honest about what you see, right? That's actually what makes this so effective, because it doesn't feel like warfare, it feels like reality. So you guys can ask your questions, and I'll get to them as I can. I want to get through this first part, okay? So, your brain actually has one job, and it's not obedience, it's survival. So it cannot tell the difference between a lion and a launch. So when God calls you towards something that requires you to be seen, it requires you to lead something that could fail, Your brain actually fires a fear response before your faith can even respond. So that part of your brain, it's called the amygdala. It fires before the reasonable part, actually, for like that's responsible for reasoning, gets a chance, which means that the freeze or the second guessing or the sudden need to reorganize something before you start, that's not a character issue. Your biology is firing before your obedience can catch up. So your brain, it also runs a negativity bias. It actually weighs one critical comment heavier than the 10 encouraging ones. So the one thing that didn't work, it holds more sway than the 9 other things that did. The enemy, he doesn't need to create the fear. Your brain actually already built it. So all that the interference has to do is show up the exact moment that your nervous system is already primed to pull back, and he lets your biology carry the delay the rest of the way. That isn't a coincidence. That is his coordinated strategy that he's using in a way that it's being used against you by something that is already inside of you, and that's being used against what God placed inside you. So we're going to go through 7 interference patterns, okay? But before we do those patterns, I need to say this. Not everything that feels like interference is the enemy. There's actually 3 sources to it. There's the enemy, and he is the opposition, right? He is the organized delay strategy, and it's designed to keep you circling long enough that that window closes. Okay, so that's the enemy. That's one source. Then there's God. I think this surprises a lot of people because sometimes what feels like interference is actually God slowing you down on purpose. Not to delay the assignment, but to heal something that would have compromised it. So the accusation that feels like an attack, it might actually be God surfacing an identity wound that he wants you to close before you can go further. Then there's you. So unhealed places, they make decisions. Fear, the fear that formed in you long before this calling that you're in, oh my gosh, you guys, let me say this again. So the fear that arrived in you long before this calling arrived, it's been showing as discernment, right? All 3 of those things, they can produce the same feeling. That's why you need discernment. It's not just a pattern recognition. Discernment, though, it develops in proximity to God over time. So I want to know, if you guys can drop this in the chat, which of these 3 have you been dealing with most? Is it the enemy and his coordinated opposition, his strategy? Is it God actually resurfacing something in you? Or is it yourself? Is it God, the enemy, or yourself? Maybe you're operating from an unhealed place and it's forming a decision about your calling. Is it God, the enemy, or yourself? Okay. We're going to go through these 7 patterns. There's 2 new ones. Okay. And it's okay to name the enemy. This is one of the few times that I do believe that the enemy is creating a coordinated opposition on you because you're about to step further into the calling that God has placed on your life. I actually think it's all 3 of those, if I'm being entirely honest, and I pray that you see how that operates, okay? So before you tag these patterns, I want you to understand what you're mapping. There's 3 different things that we're mapping. You're not mapping them separately. They all 3 have a purpose, okay? So one of them is your primary. Your primary is going to be the open door. That is the pattern that hits first. Okay, so remember that. The primary is the one that hits first. It actually hits first because there's something underneath it that hasn't been fully healed yet. So this primary, it's not just where the enemy gets in. It's where God is actually doing the deepest work in you. Okay? So your primary is, I want you to think of it like this. It's the thought that you have first as you step into your calling. It fires first. And it fires because there's something underneath it that hasn't been fully healed yet. It's not just the place that the enemy gets in. It's also where God is doing the deepest work in you, okay? The secondary, you're going to tag any of these 7 interference patterns as your primary or your secondary or your background. The secondary is what sustains the delay, okay? It settles in after this primary one makes the hesitation feel logical. It almost always sounds spiritual. It sounds like I'm being patient, or I'm stewarding what God gave me. I'm waiting on God. That's what makes this actually the most quietly damaging of all three. We're going to pay attention to our primary, our secondary most, and then we're going to look at our background, because the background is where God has already been. That pattern, it barely touches you. That's evidence. Something that used to have access to you no longer does. That is a testimony that you've been walking in without realizing it as one. So we're going to look at all three of these. We're going to do it. We're going to look at them together. They're not just showing you where you struggle. They're actually showing you what God has been building, what's been sustaining the delay, and where He's already won ground in you. Okay? So if at any point you guys have questions, let me know. This is a participatory live. This portion of it, I'm inviting you guys to engage, okay? To be vulnerable, to share these things. We're doing this as a body, as a community, okay? So we're going to look at 7 of these patterns. You're going to tag them as either primary, secondary, or background. You're just going to name what's true, not what sounds right, okay? We're not impressing anybody. This first tag, this first pattern is accusation. So it targets your identity and your qualification. So if this one is your primary, that means that God is potentially building something that stands entirely on your identity being settled in Him. Accusation sounds like this. So when it comes up as the enemy or as interference, it sounds like, who told you that you could do this? Or you're not the kind of person that this works for. Maybe you don't have a degree. Who do you think that you are that you can step into this calling? You haven't even been formally trained. This other woman, she has a decade on you. You keep starting things and you don't finish them. I'm going to tell you, underneath that argument, it sounds like this. I have been at this long enough that if God was really in this, there would be more to show for it. The lack of fruit is evidence. I'm just being honest about what I see, right? That's the noise. That's what actually makes this a stronghold, because it has evidence. It has a conclusion that feels earned. So what does that sound like for you? Is this a primary one that you hear? Is it your secondary? It keeps you stuck. Or is it your background? God is actually, this used to affect me. Maybe it doesn't any longer. Okay. That one's accusation. Is that your primary, secondary, or your background? And if you're like, Vanessa, this doesn't make sense, please let me know. Okay. The next pattern is confusion. Confusion actually targets your discernment. Okay. These are interference patterns. I want you to take a look at these. This pattern of confusion, it keeps you in this loop. Interference is like a thought that you hear as you're about to step into what God is calling you. Okay? When you're about to step further into whatever God is calling you into, sometimes it comes in as noise, as interference. It's what your brain is telling you sounds reasonable or responsible, like this is just me that's thinking this, right? Confusion, it targets your discernment. So if this one is your primary, this one shows up for you. If it's your primary, the assignment potentially requires you to move on what God said before the confirmation exists. Okay? So if you tend to get confused a lot, and it sounds like, well, what if I just misheard God? Or what if the timing's wrong? Or what if I need just one more confirmation, right? What if I move and it's just me? That's confusion, right? When you have those thoughts before you're supposed to do something. This potentially requires you to move on what God said before you have any confirmation. Underneath this argument that you're telling yourself, it sounds like this. Well, God wouldn't let me go this far in the wrong direction without correcting me, right? The fact that correction hasn't come, it might mean that I'm already off course. Waiting for more clarity, that's a responsible thing that I should do, right? The thing about confusion is it almost never resolves, it regenerates. You get clarity and then a new question comes. So what does this sound like for you? Is this your primary? This is the one that hits first. Is this your secondary? This is the thing that actually keeps you stuck. Or is this one actually in the background for you? Maybe you don't hear it as much anymore. What is that for you? Okay, you can tag it in the chat. The third one is intimidation. So this one shows up as it targets your willingness to be seen. If this is your primary, this potentially means that the assignment is going to cost some visibility, or it requires visibility and it's going to cost something. This one sounds like, well, I need to have all the answers before I present someone as worth listening to, or I need a bigger platform first, or what if the people that I respect see this and they think less of me? I said yes to God, but I haven't taken a single step. Okay, underneath this argument, it sounds like this. Well, if I do this quietly and it doesn't work, nobody has to know. Staying behind the scenes isn't fear, it's strategy. So intimidation, it doesn't need you to quit. It just needs you to not begin. I'm going to say this again, just in case some of you guys are like, I still don't get it. These patterns are what keep you in a delay. So if this is your primary, right, you tend to hear this first. God is doing a work in you. The enemy is using this as your first means to distract you, to delay you. If this is your secondary, this is the one that you get stuck in. This is the loop you play in your mind time and time again. You tend to start something and then you get intimidated. And if this is your background, God has already done the work in it. Okay? The fourth one is comparison. So this one actually targets your lane clarity. If this one's your primary, God is potentially building something specific enough that the lane doesn't fully exist yet. So it sounds like she already did it better. There's no more room left. Or I'm too late. Or mine is just a version of hers. Or I scroll past her content and I lose all motivation to create mine. Right? Or maybe it's that woman is a better mom than me. They have a bigger house than I do. I can't do it. Somebody else is doing it better than me. Underneath this argument, it sounds like, well, the market is very saturated. Everything I would say has already been said by somebody with more credibility. Starting now, it just means a lesser version of what already exists. The thing about comparison is it makes the case that the lane is so occupied that there's no point of stepping into it. It actually reframes delay as discernment. So what is this for you guys? Is it your primary, your secondary, or your background? Hannah, that means that that's your background, and I'm glad you can recognize it. Okay. I know that we take a look at the primary, but to me, the secondary, that one's the hardest because it keeps you stuck. So, pattern 5 is distraction. This one targets your relationship with time. If this one's your primary, that means the assignment has a harvest window that's currently open. This one is mine right now. Okay? This one sounds like, well, once things calm down, or after this one season, then I can get to it. Or once I have more capacity, I can do it. Or I can't pour from an empty cup and my cup is empty, right? I just need one more quiet week to get started and then that week never comes, right? Underneath that, the argument sounds like this. Well, I'm not saying no to God. I'm being a good steward of what's already in my hands. Later, it's not avoidance, it's stewardship. The thing about distraction is it doesn't need your refusal, it just needs your postponement. It wants you to postpone it so long that later it becomes never, so gradually you don't even notice the shift. So is this your primary, your secondary, or your background? This one actually is my primary. I refuse to let it become my secondary. My distractions come in the form of like other things. They don't come from my no, they come from this needs handled right now, if that makes sense. Something separate than my calling. Okay? These two are going to be new. Let me move. Sorry. Okay. This next one is isolation. So this is pattern 6. This one actually targets your understanding that community is a part of the assignment. And if this is your primary, God is actually building something that cannot reach its full expression alone. So this one sounds like, well, I'll share this when there's something real to show. Or nobody in my circle understands what I'm building. I actually process this better alone. Well, if I tell people, they're going to have opinions and I'm not ready for opinions, right? Underneath that argument, it sounds like this. Well, if nobody knows what I'm building, then nobody can watch it fail. If I keep it private, it's going to stay protected. Isolation is an introversion. It's protection, and it's calling itself preference. If that's your primary, you can tag it. If it's your secondary, you can do that, or if it's your background. What one is that for you? All right. I bet you guys this one, this 7th pattern is going to hit home for a lot of you, okay? I had to introduce this one in. Number 7 is false burden. So this one actually targets your ability to discern what's actually yours. So if this one is your primary, the assignment actually requires your full capacity and ability to say no to what God didn't assign to you. Okay? This one sounds like, I cannot say no. Somebody has to do it. My yes is what's holding this whole thing together. I'm going to get to my assignment once everyone else is taken care of. Okay? Underneath it, the argument, it sounds like this. If I put this down, if I put down what I am carrying, somebody else will suffer. A woman who is truly called, she doesn't protect her capacity, she gives it. So false burden, it keeps her genuinely busy doing genuinely good things that are not the thing that God called you to. This is probably my secondary. I was like, whew, how could I not include this one? I know so many of them. So many of us relate to this false burden. How many of you do? Okay. This is number 7, false burden. Okay. So you guys that is your primary, Aunt Tina. I agree. I almost think it's your secondary. It's what keeps you stuck. I want you to take a look at what you tagged. You will get all the replays for all of these. Okay. Your primary is the pattern that hits you first. It is the open door, right? It is where the enemy sees it as an opportunity to introduce the noise. The secondary is what keeps you stuck. It's that loop that you keep replaying in your mind. I just got to do this. If I don't do this, it's going to keep people, it's not going to help anybody. Or she does it better than me. I can't do this. I can't do this. Think of it as an annoying loop, okay? I want you to hear this clearly. It's not just showing you, like this primary, it's not just showing you where you're weak. It's actually showing you the specific thing that God is building in you. The enemy, he doesn't attack what's not load-bearing. He keeps hitting that wall because that wall is exactly what the assignment is going to stand on, okay? It's exactly what it's going to stand on. Your secondary, it's the one that keeps you stuck after the first one opens the door. It doesn't hit hard. It settles in so quietly, and it makes your delay feel like your own reasonable decision. That's why it's so hard to see. It never feels like warfare. It feels like a part of you just being responsible to the calling that God placed on your life. Okay? Your background, it's actually the most significant of all 3. Most of us miss it. The pattern that barely touches you isn't irrelevant. It's evidence. It's showing you a place where God already did the work. Something that used to stop you, it no longer does. You may never even remember when it changed, but it did. That means that what God is doing in your primary right now is something that he's already done somewhere else in you, and he can do it again. So your tags, both of them or all of them together, are showing you what God is building. It's also showing you what's been sustaining that delay and where he has already won ground in you. So it is a system and it has a sequence. And when you know the sequence, you can interrupt it. We're going to interrupt it on day 2. We're going to go deeper into that tomorrow, okay? So I want to know how many of you, who in the chat has been sitting on something that God told them to do for more than 6 months. You can drop the number. You can say how many months. How many of you have just been sitting on something? I think the reason why we do these challenges is because it's helping us to recognize why we stay stuck in those patterns. That's why we go through the neuroscience, scripture, all of that. So at the top of this, I asked you guys to drop a why if you've been circling something that God made clear. Do you remember that? There were like 3 of you that said why. There's clearly more than that, right? Now that you guys can recognize these interference patterns, does that change that? If you drop to why, it's not evidence of your inconsistency. It's actually evidence of a woman who is on a real assignment. She has a very specific window, and it's evidence of a God who has been present in every single moment of the delay. That means that the calling on your life, it is very secure. I want you to stay in that. But the window of your obedience, that is real, and it does have an expiration date. Okay? Tomorrow we're going to learn what to do when the interference shows up, so that the obedience that you need to walk further into your calling stops stalling you. Day 2 is tomorrow. Come back to that, okay? Come back to that. Get the replays. At the bottom left of your screen, there is a gold icon. You guys can get the replays, and I will send the newest version out by the end of today, okay? What you did today, it is just the beginning of a longer conversation. The map that you built is real, but that map and what it's pointing to, it doesn't get worked out in just 3 days. I'm being entirely honest with you. It is neuroscience. It is changing a way of operating. It gets worked out in a community where the first work is understanding who God is, so that everything that you built comes from that place. Where your primary is not a weakness to manage. It's the exact place that God is building the foundation for your assignment and what it's going to stand on. Okay? That space to work that out in a community of other women is Eden and Empire. That is my community of other faith-driven female entrepreneurs that I help guide. We do this challenge. That is month 1, along with all the other things that we do. So if what happened today names something real in you, in about 20-ish minutes, I'm hopping off and going on a separate platform, and I'm giving you more information about it. We have stepped into an elevated version of Eden and Empire, and I want to share that with you. It is a space where we hear God through the noise. We understand more depth of who He is, okay? I want to allow for that separate space for a Q&A, but I'm going to tell you more about it before we get to that space, so that when you guys hop on, you can pick my brain about what this community is before the doors reopen again, okay? This challenge of everything that we just did, it's built on that. It's built in that community where us as women, we've been building our business, and it's something where we are starting to fill the gap between what the world tells us to do and what God has called us to do. Eden and Empire is a place where I help women discover who God created them to be and build from that place. Okay? You love God, right? You want to be present for your family. You believe that you're called to something more. Somehow, your faith, your family, your business, those 3 things constantly feel like they're pulling against one another. You know that God has placed something inside of you. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a message. Maybe it's a calling that you've been carrying for years that you haven't fully stepped into yet, right? Like we did today. You know that God has placed something inside of you. You want clarity. You probably want more confidence to do that. You want to know that what you're moving in is the right direction. Most of all, you probably want to stop feeling like you're constantly behind. How many of you is that? If you guys want to join me and you want to do the Q&A and see what there is more of what this community is, see the inside of it, the access, all of that stuff, DM me. You can say interested. You can put me and I'll send you the link. Eden and Empire, it's actually a guided discipleship and a business pathway for women who want to become the woman that God created them to be and build from that place. So over 12 months, we walk through a journey designed to help you through that. You get to understand who God is and how His character changes the way you live and lead. It helps you to heal these beliefs, like exactly what we did today. These small things that keep you circling, that's just one of them. That is one of the challenges we do. To heal the beliefs, to heal the wounds, the thought patterns that keep you stuck, right? To discover your unique design, your gifts, your strength, your calling. To gain clarity on who you're actually called to serve. You're going to learn how to communicate your message with confidence. You're going to build a business that aligns with your life instead of competing in it. You're going to create rhythms and systems and structures that support both your family and your calling. And you're going to lead with greater impact and influence and stewardship. This isn't just another business program teaching you how to hustle harder. It is the exact opposite of that. Okay? It's also not just another Bible study. It is a place where faith and identity and calling and family and business, they finally come together. Okay, so each month you actually move through a simple rhythm. You're going to learn, study, apply, and integrate. You receive new curriculum each month and a deeper Bible teaching, weekly coaching, and you get guidance and support and community and practical challenges. And they're designed to help you live what you're learning. Because information is not just the goal, the transformation is. The goal isn't to become somebody else. The goal is to become that version, that woman that God created you to be, and faithfully steward what He entrusted you to do. And when that happens, your business stops feeling like something that you're trying to force. It actually just becomes an expression of who God designed you to be all along. Okay? That is the space. I'm going to go deeper into what that means here. We're going to hop off to go do that. If you guys are interested, can you DM me and say interested, and I'm going to send you all the link. I'm actually going to, just in case I miss it, okay? Give me 1 second. I'm going to put it in here as well, so you guys have it. This is just for ladies, by the way. Eden and Empire is a community for women. Okay? So as much as I'd love to help you guys, I only coach females. Give me just a second. My Zoom is always so confusing. We're going to hop off there, and I get to talk to you face to face. You guys don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to, but it's quick. I'm going to put it in here. I think you guys should be able to copy and paste it. We're going to hop off and do that. That's an easier way, because I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to DM each and every one of you that are interested. But we're going to hop off and do that. And you get to pick my brain. I'm going to explain it more in depth, and you get to see the behind the scenes of what it actually is. Okay? That is our community. Thank you guys for that. So, that is day 1 of Hearing God Through the Noise. If you guys attended the Bible study, if you did the Hearing God Through the Noise challenge, you're going to get all the replays of those if you sign up for it. And if you want to come to be in this live Q&A with me, on the separate platform, get that link so you guys can join me, okay? All right, I'm going to hop off here, and you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. All right, have a beautiful day.